Hey there, thanks for tuning in. This is the Tammy Tine Design YouTube channel. I'm Tammy, and today I'm creating something a little bit different. In my last layout share video, I shared this two-page layout from a trip I took to Key West. And on that trip, I collected all of this stuff. It's the typical things we like to collect. There's a coaster from the hotel. This is a luggage tag. I purchased a few decals. I got this decal as a freebie somewhere. I have a postcard and a map and a brochure from a tour, and I saved a hotel room key. I have to say, I'm proud of myself for collecting all of these things and keeping them all together so I have them to scrapbook with. I love to include memorabilia on my scrapbook pages, but I have to be completely honest and say that sometimes this stuff never makes it to a page with photos. When I'm designing a fun scrapbook layout with pretty paper, I find it really hard to take a brochure like this and just plop it in. I don't like how this looks. Yes, there are better ways to do this, and believe me, I have tried them all. But for me personally, if I wanted to add this coaster, it just doesn't work with the vibe I have going on with my photos and these papers. I would need to design the page with the intent of adding this coaster. The colors would need to work, and I would need to leave room for it so that it looks like it belongs on the page. I still may do that with this coaster, but that's for another video. For this trip, I didn't include any of this memorabilia on my layouts, but I still want to add it to my scrapbook. I love collecting all of these things and looking at this stuff, so I'm keeping it. I just need to figure out how to get it in the scrapbook. So, what are some options? Let me move this out of the way and bring my layout back in. One way I like to add memorabilia is in its own page protector. Here's a 6 by 12 page protector, and this could go in the middle of a two-page layout like this. All of the bits and pieces that go with the photos on this page could go in this page protector and go in the album right here. I like adding in smaller pages so that you can still see the full two-page layout behind the smaller one with the memorabilia. So the brochure could go in here, and on the other side, I could create a collage on top of cardstock or pattern paper with the rest of the things all layered up. The size of the page protector can be adjusted depending on how much memorabilia you have. This would work with a smaller 8 by 10 page protector too. It wouldn't work for this particular brochure because the brochure is taller than the page protector, but you get the idea. The letter size protector gives you a little bit more room, but it's still smaller than the 12 by 12 pages behind. I don't mind adding this in the middle of a two-page layout. But another idea for doing the same thing is with a flip flap that you can attach to either the right page or the left page and extend the memorabilia out and off the page. You can design the front of the flip flap to align with your layout, and when you open it up, the memorabilia is on the other side. For my trip, I'm still creating layouts and I'm going to have 3 to 4 when I'm finally done. But I don't really think any of this memorabilia will make it to layouts. What I thought I would do instead is create my own pocket page to hold everything. I have a sheet of white cardstock here to use as the base of the pocket, and everything will get stacked inside. This pocket page will go in a page protector and be the last page of this Key West trip section in my album. Here are the rest of the papers I'm going to use. Here's a pink flamingo paper from the Summer Fun collection from Echo Park, and it's the B side of the 4x6 journaling cards. I have this dark pink hearts paper from Coco Vanilla Studios Sun Kiss collection, and it's the B side to Feeling Fine. I have this fun bright cocktail paper from I think it's the Sunshine Boulevard collection from American Crafts. And then I have this yellow chevron paper that came from a paper pad. And I know that because it has that hole in the top, and this paper is not double sided. Let me cut all of the papers and then I'll show you the design plan. The pink heart paper and the yellow chevron will form the back pocket. So I've added score lines at a 1/2 inch on both of the longer sides of each paper. The pocket needs gussets so that it has enough room to hold all of this stuff. This is a mini album trick. If you've ever watched a tutorial of a mini album made from scratch, you've probably seen this done before. I'm going to trim out the square that was made by the score lines. Cutting out the square will help the sides come together better. I don't show it, but I will also do a quick miter cut as well so that when I fold over the flaps, there will be no paper overlap. This step just takes out the extra paper bulk. I do have a bone folder too that I will use to make these creases more crisp. I will glue this pocket to my white cardstock with strong score tape, and the other papers will be layered on top. Let me glue everything down and I can finish off this page. This is what my pocket page looks like now. As I showed before, I added the gussets to allow the pocket to have more give for all of the stuff I'm going to add. I added score tape to the half-inch flap and glued the flaps to my page. I'm holding at both sides, so hopefully you can see the flaps and how I glued the pockets down. I hope the camera picks that up. This pocket is going inside a page protector. I've made this kind of pocket before and I've never had any trouble with any of this stuff falling out of an album. I'm not going to glue these pieces in. You could if you have a concern that the stuff might fall out, but I'm not doing that because I want to be able to take everything out of the pocket and look at them in the future. I'm not putting anything in any kind of order. I'm just going to add each item to the pocket. Not all of the memorabilia needs to go in here, but when you do have leftovers, this is a great way to keep it all together. Of course, if you want to recycle some things, you don't have to keep everything. But I also don't have to feel guilty now for keeping so much because I do have a place to put it, and this isn't going to take up too much room in my album. I wanted to have the layers with the different pattern papers, not only because they're pretty and these papers coordinate with the other layouts from this trip, but also for tucking in some smaller items. Like the coaster, you'll see several times. I'm going to move it around, and eventually I may end up adding it to one of the other layouts I still need to create so it might not stay in the pocket. I'm going to stack these decals in between the layers, and I really like how that looks. The rest of the stuff will go into the pocket, and not everything's going to be visible. Other smaller items like the ornament and the key cards I'll put in there shortly won't be visible. But since I'm not gluing anything down, I can take it all out later if I'm ever showing this album to someone. I did buy a postcard and I added some journaling to the back. Just a quick tip. Postcards usually have those two sections, a smaller section to write a note and another section to add the address and the stamp. I just added a 4x6 Project Life journaling card to the back to cover all of that up so that I could add more journaling and make it a little prettier. What else did I keep? We had lunch at Margaritaville. If I had taken photos inside the restaurant, I would have included this card on that layout with the photos. But I didn't take photos. I don't have any, so it's going to go in this pocket. And that shuttle schedule has the hotel name on it, so I kept that. I will add a few mounting adhesive squares to the paper layers to keep that postcard and the Margaritaville card from slipping around too much. While this may not be the prettiest page I've ever created, I personally like to see all these bits and pieces from my trip. I love collecting all of this stuff, and having a pocket like this gives the stuff a place to be. The pattern papers help it look more fun and help this page flow with the rest of the layouts in this section of my album. I hope this gave you an idea for a way to keep all of the memorabilia that doesn't make it on a layout with photos. I also like this idea for maybe a year in review album. If you get to the end of the year and you still have some memorabilia left over, add it to a page like this and put it at the end of the album. Same with anything that might be left over at the end of a school year. If you have bits and pieces, create a fun pocket like this for all of the leftovers. It keeps everything together with the year that it happened. Whenever you have leftover memorabilia that you want to keep, just create a pocket like this. The gussets give the pocket plenty of room to add in lots of layers. It's also a great way to use up leftover sheets of pattern paper. Thanks so much for joining me today. See you next time.